Tom Riddle. Okay, so they escape back out. They get carried up. They go to the staff room, and page 328. Dumbledore asks, "What interests me is how Lord Voldemort managed to enchant Ginny. When my sources tell me he is currently in hiding in the forces of Albania." And Harry points out it's the diary. Okay. Dumbledore talks about what a brilliant student Voldemort was when he taught him 50 years ago. Okay, so Dumbledore eventually gets everybody to leave the room, so that's just he and Harry standing there talking. And Dumbledore says on 332, okay, you're going to see this kind of debriefing go on in almost all the books. He tells Harry, "You must have shown me real loyalty down in the chamber. Nothing but that could have called Fawkes to you." Remember when Harry said, "You're not the greatest sorcerer in the world"? Everybody knows that's Dumbledore. "And so you met Tom Riddle. I imagine he was most interested in you." And Harry says, "Riddle said I'm like him." "Did he? And what do you think?" "I don't think I'm like... I'm in Gryffindor." And then Harry has to admit, "Professor, the Sorting Hat wanted to put me in Slytherin. Everyone thought I was Slytherin's heir because I can speak Parseltongue." And Dumbledore explains, "You can speak Parseltongue, Harry, because Lord Voldemort, who is the last remaining ancestor of Salazar Slytherin, should be descendant of Salazar Slytherin, can speak Parseltongue. Unless I'm much mistaken, he transferred some of his own powers to you the night he gave you that scar." Book 7, by the way. Not something he intended to do, I'm sure. Listen to Harry's question. "Voldemort put a bit of himself in me?" Book 7. "It certainly seems so. So I should be in Slytherin. The Sorting Hat could see Slytherin's power in me, and it put you in Gryffindor," said Dumbledore. Notice that. Harry thinks because there's a part of Slytherin in him, or there's a part of Voldemort in him, what must that mean? You got to go all the way back to what Hagrid said, rotten to the core. In other words, it's our blood that determines what we become. Harry's thinking, because I have a part of Voldemort in me, I must be bad. There must be something wrong with me. And Dumbledore is going to correct this. He says, "But the Sorting Hat," page 333, "put you in Gryffindor. You know why that was. Think!" Harry, "It put me in Gryffindor because I asked not to go in Slytherin?" Exactly. Harry's not yet fully understood what Dumbledore is saying, which makes you very different from Tom Riddle. It is our choices, Harry, that show what we truly are, far more than our abilities. Our abilities, both innate talents, things that we have from birth, as well as those abilities that we can train and that we can develop through practice and such. But still, they come from our innate natural gifts. Dumbledore says it's our choices that show what we truly are, more than our abilities. Why? Because we can have the greatest abilities in the world and make the worst choices. Similarly, we can have no abilities and make the best of choices. Go back to the first book. When Neville tried to stop Harry, Ron, and Hermione from going through the trapdoor, what abilities did Neville have there? Almost none. But he chose to try to stop them because he thought it was the right thing to do. He was trying to protect them and his own house. Okay? And so Dumbledore says, if you don't believe me, you want proof that you belong in Gryffindor? Look more closely at this. And he picks up the blood-stained silver sword and hands it to Harry. Harry turns it over, and then he saw the name engraved just below the hilt. Godric Gryffindor. Dumbledore, only a true Gryffindor could have pulled that out of the hat, Harry. Now, little clue about book 7. Harry is a true Gryffindor. He's related to Godric Gryffindor. Okay. So Lucius Malfoy comes in. He's all upset and angry because Dumbledore is back, even though he'd been suspended by the governors. Dumbledore says, well, you know, that's kind of interesting because the other 11 governors asked me back today. Something about, you know, they felt threatened by you. He explains how the Chamber of Secrets had been opened, who the culprit was, that it was Lord Voldemort again. Harry challenges Malfoy and tells him, Ginny got the book because you put it in her cauldron back at Flourish and Blotts. And we're told, page 336, Malfoy says, prove it. Dumbledore, oh, no one will be able to do that. Not now that Riddle is vanished from the book. Okay, and he goes on. So Harry takes the diary back because he wants to give it to Mr. Malfoy. He pulls off his sock and he stuffs the diary in the sock. Not the way they do it in the film, putting the sock in the diary. He stuffs the diary in the sock and hands it to Mr. Malfoy. Malfoy pulls the sock off and throws it to the side because he wants to keep the diary. And he tells Dobby, come, Dobby. Page 338, I said come. Dobby, Master's given a sock. Master gave it to Dobby. Got the sock. Master threw it. Dobby caught it. Dobby is free. Malfoy lunges at Harry. You've lost me, my servant boy. Dobby, you shall not harm Harry Potter. There's a loud bang. Malfoy's thrown backward. He crashes down the stairs. Okay. And we hear Dobby say, Harry Potter freed Dobby. Harry Potter freed Dobby. Harry says, least I could do, Dobby. Just promise never to try and save my life again. Book 7. Okay. So the book ends, and we see on page 341, they're making their way to King's Cross. They're on the Hogwarts Express. And Hermione says, well, Harry, your aunt and uncle will be proud, though, won't they? When they hear what you did this year? Harry, proud? Are you crazy? All those times I could have died and I didn't manage it? They'll be furious. Notice again, it ends on the note of Harry saying, and yes, he's saying it in jest and comically, I could have died many times, and yet I didn't. Okay? Why? Because part of the theme of the entire 7 series is J.K. Rowling is setting up people who die. And we'll see that repeatedly. The next book we hear about 13 muggles who are killed. Okay? We're going to see a couple of people attempt to kill someone. Harry's going to stop them. Book 4, we actually see someone die. Actually, we see a couple of people die. Book 5, more deaths. Book 6, more deaths. Book 7, more deaths. J.K. Rowling is saying something about death and how to prepare for it. Remember what Dumbledore said at the end of book 1. Death is but the next great adventure. To the well-organized mind. To the well-organized mind, death is but the next great adventure. Okay? We'll talk more about that next time.